I wanted to be controversial first by saying, why should we be paying for the sins of the developed world, because they are the ones who polluted the environment? But perhaps let's begin with the government's position on the whole fracking issue. A decision has been outstanding for quite a long while now. When are we likely to have a decision?
Thank you, sir. Unfortunately, I cannot be able to tell you straight away when we are going to be able to have this closure on this issue. But there is a task team that was established that is looking at the whole thing of hydraulic fracturing for the production of shale gas. And that work is still ongoing, but looks set to be concluded very soon.
Okay, so we're certainly hoping for an answer, hopefully before the year is out?
Yes.
Okay, certainly there's an answer there coming through. So let's talk about the pros and cons of the shale gas fracking and all these other questions around concerns of the environmentalists, and on the other hand, of course, the country's needs. We know that South Africa is suffering from power shortages, and here we are with this situation where we have to balance the two. From where the government stands, how do you balance those two issues?
I think it's important for our audience to note that any energy extraction activity or energy generation activity is itself inherently having a negative impact on the environment. And what is important is to ensure that that kind of environmental impact is properly managed, and we are able to prevent any occurrences or accidents that will have a negative impact on the environment. For example, if you are drilling, there is a likelihood that you are going to negatively impact the water or pollute water resources in that environment. Right. There is also the issue of disfiguring the landscape. But there are processes that are put in place via the legal framework to ensure that such things do not occur.
Yeah.
And the same will apply here. Although what has happened in this one, it has become a controversial issue.
Yeah.
Because those environmental impacts are very much damaging, and the reports that have come forth have been negative. And I would say that some of the things have also taken an emotional side of things, because we need to look at things in a balanced manner. We as government are not looking at things from a perspective of having a vested interest, but we're looking at the interest of South Africa in cooperation in this whole issue.
Yeah, but I would imagine the government's position must surely be to look at the fact that we've got an issue here with power supplies in the country, and here's an opportunity to try and solve the problem. But the question that some people are asking is, I mean, if you're talking about fracking, yes, you use a lot of water, but some people are saying you actually use more water in coal mining than you use in fracking. So why is fracking receiving a different measure, if you like?
All right. I would say that at this moment, I don't like to talk and put forth as if it's a government position, because sure, government position is still being developed.
Right.
But in terms of just pragmatically addressing issues and say to you that we need to first of all look at the case in isolation, and then we take that case, we look at broadly and in comparison with other energy carriers. That always happens whenever one looks at energy carriers, because there's a convergence of energy carriers, and also you cannot look at one energy carrier in isolation of others. And if there's also substitution amongst the different the various energy carriers. So that is why when we talk, there will be issues of coal vis-a-vis shale gas. But be that as it may, the important thing is that shale gas does present an opportunity for government to address its energy deficit.
Yeah.
It also presents an opportunity from a revenue generation perspective. If you consider the fact that here we're talking roughly 485 trillion cubic feet of gas that can be technically harvested. But now the thing is that is a very rough order of magnitude estimate, and one can say that even if you have 10%, right, which is about 48 TCF, that still would be a game changer for South Africa, especially if one considers that the 45,000 barrels per day refinery, gas to liquid refinery owned by Petro SA in Mossel Bay was floated on 1 TCF.
Right.
So that there is that opportunity for economic development and growth.
Absolutely. Some people look at that and say we should be going full steam ahead. But anyway, I understand what you're saying. As the government, you have to take a balanced approach. But I suppose for both sides in the whole debate, what they are looking for is a fair government system or an effective government system that regulates how the decision the government arrives at is looked at. So from where you stand, does the government have the right framework in which to come to a decision on shale fracking?
I would say that this is a new, we are venturing into new ground here, and therefore I wouldn't say that there isn't any framework. There is a framework. The mere fact that there was a moratorium that was put in place to investigate this issue properly is part of saying that this thing is being addressed in a balanced and objective manner by government, and trying to get to a solution that is going to be palatable to all parties involved and also be beneficial to the country as a whole. So from that perspective, I would say that we are operating in a vacuum. There isn't a vacuum. There are the laws governing these policies in place. It's just a question maybe of the adequacy of those policies and the adjustments here and there to be able to accommodate shale gas. For example, we also have got the Gas Act in place. We've got the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act, which has been gone through several amendments. The Gas Act is still also going to be looked at amendments to be able to accommodate things like LNG as well as shale gas. So there is a framework in place. It's a question of improving that framework and tailor-making certain things and being specific to issues that will address the shale gas matter.
Indeed. Muzi Mkhize, Chief Director, Hydrocarbons, Department of Minerals and Energy, we value your time here with us today.